Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Taking a deep breath because I'm a little disgruntled about this card this morning. I'm going to pin you to the top. Let's see if I can find myself. There it is. Let's see. Good morning. I see somebody on there. And there it is. Okay. Pin to top. Good morning. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Stacy. Oh, Stacy. The blades are metal. She's not sure if they're titanium, but she will check back and let me know. So as soon as I hear one way or the other, I will let you know for sure. Let me just turn this off. Find my comments here. There we go. Okay. It's snowing again. I'm sorry. I wouldn't mind some of your snow. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Melanie. I just submitted your party, just so you know, Melanie, so hopefully it'll be shipped soon. Good morning, Karen. Hi, Mary from Minnesota. Yvonne. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see all these faces today. Who else is on there? Lisa. Good morning, Lisa. Thank you for joining. No, I did not work on that card all night. I didn't. I thought about it. I was just huffing and puffing when I started my thing this morning. You guys are funny. Good morning from Tucson. I bet it's sunny and warm in Tucson. That's probably one of the few places in the United States because I think it's even cold in Florida this morning. So I saw, I followed this group. It's called Kenny the Pirate. He does a lot of planning stuff for Disney World. And they said, watch out for falling iguanas because when it gets below 40 degrees, they kind of get stunned and fall out of the trees. I just thought that was funny. Thank you guys for all the shares. Okay, so what we're going to do today, I have a few extra cards that I've made. I did kind of a little bit of stuff. Oh, thanks, Wendy. That's so nice. It's cold in Minnesota. I bet it is. I did a couple extra cards because just in case we may not necessarily, or I don't necessarily like it, I did like some extra things that we could do. And I also brought out a few other stamp sets. And can I show that card real quick? Hold on, I will, I promise. It's 45 degrees. I feel for you this morning. You thought you moved somewhere warm. Okay, so Melanie's too busy chatting. She's not sharing it. Okay, so here are a few of the backgrounds. I'm going to save the one that I think actually looks kind of good. But here's what we're going to be making today. In case you missed this, I did a YouTube live yesterday, and I kind of shared this. So I didn't finish the cards, but I really perfected the background at least, right? So here are a few of the cards. And the one thing, I said a couple different things. I think I might have picked a very complicated image. And I know this does look good, but if you look up close, you can see what I was talking about with all the dust. So I was telling these ladies here that some of my cards were rather dusty. This one probably is one of the better looking ones, but it's got a little bit of, you can see the dusting up here. So, and also I repainted my nails yesterday as soon as I finished that YouTube live because I was embarrassed. Hi, Jocelyn. Good morning. Hi, Marlene. Good morning. Nice to see you guys. And then somebody else was on there too. I didn't see. Who was it? Sharon and Jewel. Thanks for joining. Good morning, Donna. No mint today so far. So anyway, this is the card. We're going to do this today. I did pick a couple other, oh my gosh, my hair looks a little silly this morning. I picked a couple other stamp sets that may be better for what I was intending to do. I look like the birds in the morning dew. That's so cute. Wait till you see the one. It really looks pretty. So I've seen a lot of silhouette stamps done with the meerkats, which were really, really cute. But since there was like a zillion meerkats, I want to do something different. So I picked Free as a Bird. And essentially what we're doing, and I want to show you the other, I'll show you another card. So what we're doing is we have... You're funny, Karen. Smarty pants. We have a few stamps that have silhouettes. And what I was trying to go for, I've seen a lot of people do the meerkats as a silhouette, but it's not a silhouette stamp. So what I thought was we could make it into a silhouette. Hi, Julie. Oh, you're in Northeast Ohio too, Julie. Do you know all these crazy Ohio ladies? If not, maybe y'all should meet. So I went ahead and made, and I'm going to show you this card. I wasn't going to show you this till the end, but I'll show it to you now. So when you're making a silhouette card, basically what you're doing is you're doing the background of color and then you're letting these guys stand out. So I made this one. This one I'm very proud of. I think it did a good job. So you can see that there up close. So what I did was I did the background and then you stamp the images. Send the card to you. You stamp the images in black. So you're getting a silhouette. I meant crazy in a good way. Fun crazy. Yay crazy. Not crazy crazy. Which is fine because I'm a little crazy that way too. But what I wanted to do was to make a card. Crazy fun. Crazy fun. I made a card like the silhouette but without a silhouette stamp. So that was one. And then what I did was, if you notice, I did the stitching here. And I cut it out. And then I was going to use the inside because what I did was I ended up just cutting this out to use and I just didn't place it yet. But I did 3 other layers of the stitched rectangles so I could have 3 different options for like laying this around the card. So I don't know if you can see the stitching on that or not. There, you can see it there, the stitching. And then there's another one and a square. So basically my point was I was trying to make a silhouette stamp, but I had a little issue with the dusting part. Kind of fun crazy. Exactly, Tina. See, Tina knows. So I was, couple different things I tried. When I was doing my black embossing powder, this is why yesterday I was telling you guys that you want to make sure that you really close up your embossing powder when you're finished using it. Because sometimes it'll get a little dusty, like it could get little teeny flecks from the, oh goodness, I didn't even get one down today. You could get little teeny flecks from your coffee filter if your coffee filter has been like used a lot. So make sure if you're starting to get little paper flecks in it, just get yourself a new coffee filter. You can see I have a zillion of them here, but I need to get a new one out. Then the other thing I did was the black embossing powder I was using was, we don't even carry plain black anymore. So it was a little bit older, but I wouldn't say it was necessarily old. So then what I did was I switched to the shimmery embossing powder. And now that card does look really good. I did them a couple different ways with stamping versus doing the background first versus stamping first. So I have a couple things to show you and then we'll kind of work out a way. But I also picked a couple other stamp sets that might really make beautiful silhouettes because the line art isn't as detailed as the birds. Okay, so that's what I'm going with. So hey Avanel, I saw you on here too. Nice to see you. So Lily Pad Lake would make a great one if you use the heron / egret. I know there's a little debate for that. Another one that would be really nice would be the horse, or either horse. Actually, you could do either one. These would both look nice. You could always do any of the animal friends from Animal Outing. This one I thought would be really cool if you did the pagoda and you could do the tree. So those would be nice. And another one that I thought would be really cool. So I'm going to play around with this one because I know we're kind of a little bit out of like Christmas, but you could still send winter people a winter card. The snowman would look really neat. So I have a lot of other stamp sets in case maybe you might not have what we're going to use if you don't have the birds. There's lots of other things you could do this with. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get started. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. When I did this card, and this is something we were talking about yesterday in the group, you have to really be careful because you'll notice there's a couple little black smudges here. I used 2 different inks, and I want to tell you one other thing about that. If you are using a silhouette stamp specifically, oh, that was a tongue twister. Personally, I highly recommend this ink. This is not a Stampin' Up ink, but it really gives a beautiful, really, really dark black. So, for example, if you look at this, I'm going to try to bring it up close again. So the little, these are kind of, I don't even know what these little flowers are, but these little weedy things here and small flowers, they are not nearly as deep black as the girl because I did the flowers I did in Memento, which is great. It's a great ink. But the VersaFine ink really gives like a deep, deep black shadow. So it really makes it look nice. Now, one thing you have to remember though, is when you use VersaFine ink, this is a pigment ink, so it takes a while to dry. So you really have to be careful. I should have set this on the side before I started trimming it a little bit smaller, but I was being impatient once again. So VersaFine ink is a great ink for getting a really deep black, vivid inking, but it stays wet for a while. So you could either use your, let's see if I can pull it up here without knocking anything over. You could either use your heat tool to kind of dry it a little bit, or just set it aside and work on something else. So I got this, I believe, from Simon Says Stamp. You probably could get it at a big box store as well, I'm sure. But the nice part about this too, the way the lid flips, is it opens and then you can ink really well with inking it. It really is a super ink. I used this one. I've also used the Gina K Onyx Black Amalgam ink. This one I don't feel as deep as the VersaFine. However, it does dry faster, but you can use this for alcohol, watercolor, any kind of ink. So this one is really, really great for using it for different mediums. So unfortunately, sometimes, you know, you do have to kind of go outside the box. So that's what I did. I really do. And again, Memento isn't something that Stampin' Up! Specifically makes. It's just a brand that they carry. And VersaFine and Memento are both made by the same company. It's the Sukinko makes it. These are both Japanese inks. Really, really deep pigment inks. I think like it's Japanese or Chinese, one of the two of them. But anyway, this is a great, great ink. However, it does not dry fast. So just keep that in mind. That's one thing I want to tell you. And otherwise than that, we'll move on to the card. I do have two different ways to do it. So I'm going to share both of those with you. One of them is significantly easier. And the reason that I went back and forth with this is because I wanted to make this really work easy for you. And I knew if I couldn't get it to work simple enough, and I'm not saying like simple that it was so simple, but make an easy process, then I know a lot of people wouldn't want to try it, because if it's too hard, believe me, I'd think, I don't really want to do that. It sounds like a lot of work, which I totally understand. So that's why I wanted to make sure I had a really good card and a really easy way to tell you to do it before I did it. So I am going to, let me move some of this stuff out of the way, and I'm going to flip you down. And then we will get started, and I will show you both ways to do the card. And I want to show you one other thing before we get started. The colors that I chose that seem to work the best for this sun that we're doing is Pineapple Punch, Crushed Curry. You can add in a little bit of Mango Melody if you want, but you don't have to. Pretty Peacock, Highland Heather, and there is one more. Blueberry Bushel, I think. No, that was it. Oh, you know what it was? Bermuda Bay. Bermuda Bay. So I only used, because I only used mango for the one. I only used 5 colors, but when you blend the colors together, you'll end up getting all the extra colors in. So it's really very reminiscent of when you watch the sunrise. So, all right. So I'm hoping that is helpful to you all. I did do, like I said, a couple things ahead of time. I'll show you a couple other things I did too. Kind of just fooling around. Let me just move this over so when I go over here, it looks nice. And I'm going to give you this other card to look at while we get ready. Okay, so I'm going to start flipping. So if you do get a little nauseated watching flipping, turn away. Hi, Amy. Thank you for joining today. Okay. Whoops. All right. Yep, no mint. Donna's in the clear. Anyone who's recently joined. Donna is not a fan of the mint. All right, so let me just scoot all this up just a smidge. And you definitely, one thing you want to have when you do this is you definitely want to have a scrap paper, especially for your blending. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do this in steps. Oh, you know, that's a good idea, Yvonne. You could use the VersaFine to heat emboss with. That's very, very good idea. So this is that other card, as you can see. It's really very pretty. But if you could see this in person, which I know sometimes you'll kind of be like, well, it looks fine to me. This is significant. This almost looks like a washed out, like an ink that needs to be re-inked, and it is re-inked versus this black. So I thought it was really pretty though. And then again, you could add the other layers on the inside if you wanted to. A couple other things I wanted to show you. I'm still waiting for my stamps to come, but I was fooling around with this yesterday. So this is what threw me. I was like, wow, that's a really unique star. But you actually could cut this out with the star dies, but it does this Morning Glory. And it's very, I don't think this is one of those, it isn't two-step. However, I don't think it's one of those, what do they call them? Distinctive stamps, but it really has a lot of detail to it. It's really, really pretty, especially with the way the stars are. I was just kind of fooling around with this. This is a cleaned up version. So it's a very pretty stamp. So I'm going to do something with this, but I'm waiting for the stars to come in because I kind of want to do something with it together. So once they come in, I'm going to do something with this one. But I just wanted to show you, you could even add you probably would need to add it in a lighter color, but you could even add that to the star because it does fit perfectly on there. And this coordinates with the stitch stars. Another one that I did yesterday. So this is the one we made yesterday on YouTube in case you missed it. This is called a buckle fold. I couldn't remember what it was called when we started, but this is called a buckle fold card. And after we finished doing this, I was just playing around because I was really feeling super crafty at the moment. So I made this one. So this uses the Mountain Air stamp set. And then this is what I did on the inside. So what I did was I just inked the tree line, and then I also used my meadow in conjunction. So I did the sky. So this is all stamped. The only thing I did was at the end I sponged the entire thing with Blueberry Bushel. But I thought it was really pretty, just with the different trees. It does look very picturesque. And then on the inside I just brought the trees, and I used the, this here. Underneath, there's a really skinny layer of black. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but there's a really skinny layer of black. What I did was, to save that piece, I actually just cut out this one underneath. So I thought that was really pretty. Nice, simple card. Could be for any occasion. Absolutely doesn't even need to be happy birthday, but I thought that was really nice as well. So I did make some really cool cards this week while I was fooling around. And then one other thing I wanted to share with you, I did this last week, but I just haven't shared it yet. This is the difference if you're using, so I did this one with Stays On, and then I did watercolor pencils, and I just used kind of like a wet aqua painter. I didn't even really fill it. So there is that. So that's watercolor pencils, and then just wet them just to kind of blend it. And then this version here I did with Memento. And I did this one with the blends. I'm sorry, am I saying this right? I'm thinking, yes, Memento, that's right. I did this with the blends and the pencils. So you can use the pencils and the blends, or the pencils and the brush, because they kind of are interchangeable. But it really gives you a completely different look. So in case you've never fooled around with your watercolor pencils, so I just kind of put all of them into this little bin. That way I would have them. I have both sets of them. And then I keep a dry, well, not a dry, but a non-filled aqua painter here. You could also use your blender pen if you wanted to, but you can also use this with a coordinating color from the Stampin' Blend. So it gives you like a whole nother way to use your colors in case you can't maybe find a color that you want. So that's just two other little ideas for you. So to get started, I do have my stamps in a Stamparatus because I wanted to show you how to set up this card that we're going to do today. So I kind of did this in many steps, and I'm going to try to make it as concise and non-confusing as possible. So let me just I had to wash all my sponges out because I sponged so much. And I want to just wipe this off. So what I ended up doing, and you can do it either way, but I'm going to tell you ahead of time. We're going to do it two ways, and then I'll just kind of fool around with it after the fact. So you're going to want a piece of cardstock. This one should be 4 by 5 1/4. 4. Is that right? Yep, 4 by 5 1/4. So I kind of already had mine lined up. So you can do this one of two ways. So I'm going to show you both ways. And I had mine lined up with my paper here. Oops, you know what? I got to take out my pad. When you're using photopolymer, you need this pad. When you're using regular rubber stamps, you don't. So we can do this one of two ways. And I did prep one ahead of time because I had so many problems with it. So what I'm going to do is I have my stamp where I want it. As you can see, it's going to line up kind of in the center there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it with Memento. So if you want, you could do it this way. Nice part about doing this way is when you're finished, if you set it up in your Stamparatus, you can go back and go over the ink to make it really black if you'd like. So I think what we'll do is we'll use this one for the second way to do it. So if for some reason something wasn't inked, you could just re-ink it and then push down again so it's already lined up. So if you're going to do it the first way, which this is the way I did it most of the time, what I did was I inked the black and I let it sit for a minute to dry, and then I went ahead and sponged on the background color. So I'm going to show you those. Now the other way you could do it, and we'll do this one this way as well, however, you have to make sure it dries, is the other way we can color the background ahead of time. So let me show you that. What I did was I kind of stuck with the same pattern, so I was kind of going with like a sunrise. And let me grab my ink colors. So I went with Pineapple Punch first, then Crushed Curry. If you want, you could add a little bit of Mango at the bottom. I only did Mango for this one, and you can tell it definitely makes it a much darker card for these two. Oop, that's my good one. Hold on, I wanted to save that to show you. So this one does not have Mango. This one does have Mango. So it just depends on how dark or light you want your card. So I'm going to grab a clean sponge. I am using a clean sponge for each. I was trying to be very diligent about making sure my sponges were clean so I didn't cross-contaminate. So this one, we are already stamping. This one we're going to prep the background and do it the backwards way, okay? So I have my Pineapple Punch, and I'm kind of just going over the center, and I'm just going to do both of these cards the same way I've done the past 6 cards that I've done. And you can kind of, it doesn't really have to be perfect because remember it is a sunrise, so it is going to look different, a little bit different every time. And it absolutely is hard to know what colors to use, Diana. I fooled around with a lot of colors, and then I finally came up with, I thought this one was nice, and I think it's because the pineapple is a really bright yellow versus a lot of the other yellows that we have. And I know that these colors are going to be retiring this year, so I'm kind of hoping that some of them stick around. Move this over just a little bit. All right, so there's that. All right, so that was Pineapple Punch, and I did kind of keep these separate in case I had to go back and add anything. Now we're going to move on to Crushed Curry. This one was kind of just filling in the gaps of yellow to give a little bit of darker spots to it, not really to necessarily make the whole card darker. So it's not really terrifically dark, so that's good. And I'll do the same for this one. And this is a teeny bit longer of a card to make because of the drying. So that's pretty much all we're going to do with the Crushed Curry. So I'm not going to be able to post this one directly when we're finished today to YouTube in case you want to watch it for the replay. It will be on Facebook right away because I have lunch duty today at my son's school. So I'm just flipping this around so I can get the opposite side now. So now I have Highland Heather. Again, fresh sponge. And I feel like I just re-inked this, so this might be a little dark. So let me kind of bring it. I kind of went to the center because, you know, sometimes if you'll see the sunrise, there'll be like purple spots. It's not really necessarily all purpley, but the blue will kind of cover it up a little bit too. So if you went a little too far and you think, oh, the blue will kind of merge it together. So I'm going to do the same for the birds here. Just kind of like one concentrated area of purple. And again, we are going to go over these birds, so don't worry about the fact that the birds are all crazy color. so I think that's good. Now, purple specifically, I'm going to leave over here because I did end up adding some of this back after the fact. So then we're going to go with our lighter Bermuda Bay. And this one I'm kind of bringing in from both sides. Probably could reuse to ink this one up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a little bit on here. When you do use your sponges, it is amazing at how much ink will get sucked up. So make sure you have your re-inker handy. Normally when I re-ink, I'll put a bunch of dots onto it. With my Highland Heather, when I did this yesterday, it got sucked in immediately. And then what I'll usually do is take a plastic spoon, and I just use the same spoon for all the colors. It's the same spoon I've had for a long time. And I just kind of push the ink into the, specifically if you're using the foam pads, just press the ink in, kind of go back and forth. Then I'll just wipe this off onto a towel, and so it looks relatively clean, and then I just put it back for the next time, and I've used it again. I use it for all the colors. So that's the right one. This is going to be a little darker now, so I'm going to try to, I don't want to overwhelm the card. And then this, when you start bleeding this in, this is when you'll start to get that little green haze down here at the bottom. Which you do want, because you want it to blend very softly together. All right, so I'm going to move this and swap to our birdless card. Sounds kind of funny, a birdless card. I did order a new embossing buddy. Actually, it was supposed to come tomorrow, but my delivery is coming early. It'll be here this afternoon. So I'm also wondering if some of the issue that I had was the fact that my embossing buddy is 17 years old. And maybe I might have needed a new one. All right, so you can see you have that nice gradient color, and the more you go through, it will blend the colors together. So even though these aren't really ink blending inks, they do kind of blend nicely if you work them. All right, so I'm going to leave this here in case I need a little bit extra, and I'm going to bring in Pretty Peacock. This is kind of making the rest of it really dark. Okay. All right, so we're starting again at the edge, because we want it to be a little bit darker on, you know, as the sun is rising. Yeah, I am going to fill all the birds in, so I know the birds look a little crazy right now. Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Birds. And I'm kind of going over the whole thing. All right, that's that one. Looks pretty good. Do have a couple little swirly things here. I must have my sponge in a funny direction, but it's okay. Let's see. Go a little bit darker in the middle. Okay, so here's the thing. At this point is now, and I feel pretty good with these. I'm not going to add any other colors, so I'm just going to set these on the side for now. At this point is where you have to have your patience, because you have to give these time to dry. And if you don't give them time to dry, basically what's going to happen is your embossing powder is going to stick over the whole entire thing. So these need time to dry. So I did do one ahead of time. And that is, where is it? This one. So this one is dry. I did this one yesterday. That way it will be completely dry. Okay, so you can see they pretty much look, this one has mango in it. They look pretty similar. So if you aren't patient, what'll happen is you're going to end up with a lot of smear of stuff you don't want, okay? So we're going to use one of these to do it the other way. So if you do your backgrounds, whichever way it is that you want to do it, now at this point you're going to have to add the black to this and ink it, Okay, at this one, we're going to just have to add the Versamark. So I'm going to show you on this one that is actually 100% fully dry. I'm going to set these other dudes on the side to dry. So now what you're going to do is you're going to want to have your heat tool heating up, okay? So I'm going to turn it on low for now, just that way it's not too loud. I am going to grab a block. I'm going to grab my Versamark re-inker, okay, because you're going to need that. And I'm going to grab, whoopsie, an empty aqua painter, only because the tip is nice. So you want a really nice tip. I did try using the blender pen, but I found that it wasn't giving enough coverage to the image we were inking. So you could use this if you wanted to, perfectly fine. Also, when you have your aqua painters, they come in 2 different widths, so you could use either one. There's one that has a little fatter tip, one that has a little thinner tip. But basically what we're going to do, and I'm going to do this ahead of time just to be safe, and I would suggest you do as well, is I'm going to take my embossing buddy and kind of just cover this. That way I don't get a whole bunch of dust, because that was the problem I felt like I was having, that there was a lot of splatter dust. So I'm going to take a little bit of my Versamark, just kind of drop a drop or two onto this block. I have my coffee filter ready, and I have my embossing powder ready. Okay, it's not that it's going to dry fast, but you probably are going to have to work a little bit in stages. So I'm going to pick up some of my ink with my aqua painter, and I'm basically filling in the birds. Now, you could absolutely have re-stamped this with Versamark, and then you could do the outline edges, which would be a good idea. You could do that as well. We'll do that on one of the other ones, and I'll show you what I mean. But basically, what I'm trying to do is to fill this in, and that way I can have a fully imaged silhouette on a stamp that might not necessarily be a silhouette. And I'm going to do it a little bit at a time, just so you can see what I mean. And then I'm going to show you another way to do it afterwards, if this seems like too much work. Now, you will notice that when you're adding your Versamark ink, it actually makes, you can tell the difference of where I've inked and not inked. This is a very light gray, where this is a wet blackish gray. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to just do half of this bird so you can see what I mean. Do half of the branch. Okay. So I'm going to take my black shimmer embossing powder, or you could use solid black if you have it, and I'm just going to sprinkle this on. Okay, so that's what we're going for. So I'm going to close this up real quick just so I don't goof it. Put this over here. And I'm going to crank this up, so bear with me a sec. If you have your embossing tool heating up, it will help it to melt faster. And before I continue, I'm going to do one other thing. I just want to share one other thing with you. So you can see it does melt relatively easily. However, you still don't have a lot of the edge parts there. Okay, so one other thing you can do, I'm going to give this just a second to cool off before I do the second step again, is I'm going to bring back my Stamparatus. And I probably should have cleaned that off. Let me just wipe this off. This will give you better dark lines to follow as well. That's one also helpful reason to keep it in. So I'm going to just line this back up because this is cool now. What did I do with my magnet? So I'm going to line this back up. And again, I know exactly where I lined it. I put mine at the 6.5 mark. Okay, so I'm going to take my memento, because that's what I did the first time, and I'm going to just ink this back up again. And I'm going to just press and hopefully it's going to fill the rest of especially that black part in. Now you could have done this before you started with the whole full embossing thing. That way you wouldn't have to worry about the lumps. Oh, look at that. Wasn't lined up exactly. Those birds, you don't need glasses. These birds are blurry. So you want to make sure when you line this up, oh Lord, isn't that a mess? What you want to make sure when you line this up that you do it ahead of time. So it's definitely black and you have your lining up portion exactly. Okay. So don't do that. Oh Lord, gotta love it. All right. So I'm going to continue as if this card is still just one image and nothing is double vision blurry. Anybody want to start singing Foreigner, the double vision? Go right ahead. I'm going to just fill these in. These are just going to be extra fluffy birds. Oh, heavens. I just made this card just too much in my own head. And that's why we have this. Any spots that you miss, you want to make sure that you go back now and fill in. So if you had, aside from these double spots, if you had any spots that you missed, you can go ahead and fill them in. There's like a teeny little line down here. Honestly, I think that's just the double line, but... just goes to show, all make mistakes. Okay, I'm going to wipe this off because that's bleeding a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and dump again. When you fill in, you won't be able to tell. You're so nice, Melanie. All right, so it's really not that bad, honestly. So then all you're going to do, like I said, is you're going to just keep filling in your other spots, okay? If you notice that you have, this is something you always want to have handy too when you're embossing. If you notice that you have like little dust speckles, it's always nice to have a little brush handy. You can just kind of wipe it off, dust it down, because once you heat it, it's going to be on there. But this one definitely looks much better. Okay, so let me heat this. I'm going to show you what I mean, and then I'm going to show you one that's actually finished because I did one ahead of time. Okay, so there's one. You can see you have like a couple of lines. So what I would do if I were to continue with this one is I would take a little verse mark. Once this is cool, you do want to make sure it's cool. Fill in that little spot, add a little stuff. So it really is simple. Take your time. And when you're finished, this is the sparkle. This is one I finally finished yesterday that I thought looked nice. So this is what it looks like. Granted, there's like a teeny little spot here where I probably forgot to emboss, but otherwise, that's what it looks like. This is again with the shimmer black. Okay. If you did it with the regular, let's see which one of these do I think looks the nicest. Probably this one. If you did it with the flat black embossing, this is what it would look like. Again, if you do pick an image that's not quite as detailed as this, it's going to be easier to color in, okay? So, then what you would do is, once you make, you make sure it's all nice and dry, you can trim it down to whatever you want. But I'm going to show you one other way you could do this, okay? So this is an alternate way to do it. So let me just wipe this off. And this specifically for the birds anyway, might be a simpler way to do it because the birds are pretty detailed, okay? So I am going to try this again, but what I'm going to try it with this time, bear with me one sec, I just want to put this powder away. What I'm going to try it with is I think I'm going to do it with one of the less detailed line art stamps. Like, for example, the horse, I think would be probably pretty easy to do. Either of the horses. The bird in the background of the sun would be really nice. So one other way you can do it, if you want to make it a little bit easier, is by using your black Stampin' Right marker. Okay, so this is another way to do it. Now, I'm going to do this one more time. I am going to, I want to make sure that this is correct this time when I stamp it. But I am going to restamp this once more. Only because I want the birds, the outline of the birds to be a little bit darker, just so I know right where I'm going. So hopefully, since I just stamped this one, it should match up pretty well. So I'm going to put this down again. So I have it, I believe I said at the 6.5. Make sure it's all the way up in the corner. Just like so. Okay, so I'm going to ink this again. And I think I'm going to use the amalgam ink just to see if I can get a little bit darker of a inking. Again, this one you can use for all different kinds of stuff. You can use it for watercolor, alcohol markers. Hopefully, let's see. Oh, dang it. Nope. What did I must have had this just like slightly askewed when I stamped this. Because this is just goofy. Well, the good thing about the way we're going to do this is you're not going to notice because we are going to fill it in. Yeah, so this one has just a ever so slight double image, but we're going to fix this one. So I'm going to use this anyway, and someone is going to get this card. I don't know who it is, but somebody is. All right, so now what we're going to do, and I don't know if I can zoom in any once I have this settled. Nah, I can't. Sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my black Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to just fill this in. Okay, so I'm just following the outline of the birds. Trying to be really careful around their beaks. And all the very fine detailed lines. So this might be, and I'm going to, instead of trying to move myself around so I don't smudge it, I'm going to just move the paper around. And I'm going to just follow the line to fill this in. I really so wish I could have some music on in the background because it is so quiet in this house. Little rainbow stamper at school. None of you to actually fill the background with chatter, which would be super nice right now. Trying to be really careful. I could start singing, but you guys might actually turn off the recording. I can't say that I blame you. So I have most of the bigger part filled in there. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to switch to the detailed side, and I'm going to just make sure that anything that looks like it might be tiny, but I didn't fill in, is I'm going to follow around and fill it in. Just so there's not any kind of stray, really bright spots. Because you will have little bright spots when you're doing, so I'm going to do the beak real quick while I'm here. When you would be looking at something in the dark, obviously you're going to have those little bright spots. But I want to try to make sure that for the most part, they are pretty well colored in. All right, go back to this. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more of these as a pre-recorded video on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. But I'm going to do it with a different stamp set. And I'm going to wait until my new embossing buddy comes in and see if that makes a difference, because I really do think that it's just not cutting out the amount of static that I think it's going to cut out. Because again, it has probably seen its day. Again, once better, one more suggestion, just make sure that you rotate your paper, because that will help prevent you from getting ink. You know, when you're right-handed, you'll end up getting ink from something on your hand, or left-handed, depending on which way you do it. So if you rotate the paper versus rotate the paper versus trying to get your hand around it, it probably will work out a little bit better that way. All right, so almost done. And then the other thing we have still, just going to follow those gently. My marker here. We do also have that other really cool new silhouette stamp set that's in the annual catalog. And that one's really neat. It's got, I believe, a little girl on a swing. Just do the little bit of the rest of these and then get the fine tip back out. It has a really cool tree die that goes along with it. Okay, now one other thing you might be thinking is the fact that this branch is just hanging out. So you could do one of two things. You could make the branch longer if you wanted to, or you could trim up your card, because I had thought about that. That's kind of like this branch is just hanging out in the middle of nowhere. But we do have, just going over the feet a little bit, we do have a resolution for that if we need one. So there's that. So granted, you kind of got the same thing. One thing about this is it just looks a little flatter. So I think if I were to do this, what I would do is let this one get around his head a little bit. I would let this dry completely, because you don't want the black to smudge or smear. And then I probably would hit this with some shimmer spray just to make it look a little bit different. So you could do that. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to continue this tree branch, and then for the other one, we'll trim it out. So if we had, let me see, kind of what this looks like, because there is a flower on the end there. So that flower is just going to end up being part of the branch. So I'm going to just bring this around. We could kind of actually bring it so it looks like it's coming from a bigger part of a tree. There we go. So it doesn't look too bad. So that could be your tree. You could add something else there up there at the top if you wanted to. You could add this other branch. If you wanted to, you could kind of stamp this other branch that was sticking out and then fill it in, which that might look cool. Let's just do that while we're at it, just to give it like a little something extra. That way it doesn't just look like this lone. Okay, so I'll just do this one more. And I'm going to turn this around so I don't have my hand in case there's any ink on it. Okay, and then I'm going to use the other side just to bring in that little branch. There we go. So, not too bad. I think it looks pretty cool still. And with the extra addition of the tree there, I think it kind of makes it look a little bit more, well, sunrisey or sunsetty, one of the two. I'm really not sure which direction we're going. But anyway, I think it looks nice. And thank you for saying it makes me look easy, because I am over here sweating because I think I did a not so super duper job. But anyway, so what we'll do is we're going to trim this one down. And I think I'll probably just cut it out with the rectangle and then layer it onto some stuff. This one we'll leave as a whole sheet, okay? And then, again, once I get my other embossing powder, I'm definitely going to come back and do another one. This one, what I might end up doing with the whole thing is just embossing the whole paper which does sound ridiculous, but then we could cut backgrounds out of it. So I probably won't throw it away. I'm going to do something with it. So I'm going to figure out which of these fits the bird the nicest. As you guys will see when I did that, the yellow frames, let me move this so I don't make a mess. I did end up keeping these 3 taped together because I thought they kind of turned out really nice for using them for something else. So I just kept these 3. I kind of lined them up and taped them together so I could use them again if I wanted to. A little bit too small for that, but this will kind of be neat too. What you could do is you could layer like a black layer in between, would look really cool. So I'm going to peel just this one off because I feel like the biggest one is probably big enough. I probably could maybe go down one more, but I feel like it might be just a little bit too tight. Let me see. No, actually that's not bad. But I wonder if we shouldn't have just a little bit extra space. So I'm going to go a little bit bigger. I'm going to go up 1. And I'm going to try to kind of eyeball it to make sure it looks centered. So like that. What we'll probably do is layer this maybe onto a black background and then maybe onto like mango or something for the end of it. And then this one we're going to just mount, I think, as is. So let me see. I feel like this one might need to be cut down just a little. What is that? No, that's 5 1/4 by 4. Nope, that's pretty good. So this one we'll just keep as is. Maybe we'll put a really thin mount. I'm going to try not to touch this too much because I feel like that black might still be just a little bit wet. And I'm going to grab my Big Shot. Ooh. Whoopsie. Every time I put my stuff away, I end up using it. So I'm still kind of wondering why I insist on putting my stuff away. But so when you put a rectangle or a square, anything that has a line, even a straight line, you don't ever want to put it through straight either way because it puts a lot of pressure on the straight end of the die. So what I usually do is I'll kind of get it lined up how I want, tape it, and then just kind of put it a little bit sideways. Okay, so I'm going to put this one through. Ooh, this one I think needs to go that way. Let's try this one instead. All right, so I'm going to run this through. Oops. My Big Shot. Okay. And then this is what it's going to look like. So it's kind of nice because it's got the stitch thing. And then you could even use this piece for something else. So we could save that for a different part. Not exactly sure what yet, but something. And then what I think I said I wanted to do is to put this onto black. I'm going to do the same with this one. Black and then maybe mango. Mango, I don't know. Maybe even the pineapple punch might look really pretty too. We could do pineapple punch and then black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into a half sheet. Actually, I'm going to cut it a little less. I'm going to go to 4 by 5. And then I think I might do the same thing where I add another, just a stitched layer just to the edge of it. Let's see. That's a little too tight. I think that one's just a little bit too big. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this, and even though I know I probably could center it, I'm just going to bring it down at the bottom because I feel like if I go, I might go just a little bit off. So I'm just bringing it to a part where I know it's square. So I'm lining it right up on the edge there, and I'm going to just tape this in place, pop this through. And let's see. Okay, so then that will go onto here. And then we'll put this onto black. And then this one, what I'll do is we're going to put this on the black, but we're going to put a little bit of a layer of something behind it. And maybe just to do something different, we will go with Bermuda Bay. But this one's going to just be a straight trim instead of having another rectangle layer. So let me grab a little piece of Bermuda. Here's one. And then I'm going to grab one whole sheet of black, and we'll use it for both card bases. Okay. So let me grab this one. Now what I'm going to do, because this is such a thin trim, is I'm going to only make this 1/16 bigger. Okay. So instead of, that one is 4, so I'm going to go with 4 1/8 by, let's see, that'd be 5. Is that 5 1/4? I think it's going to be. Yep. So it's going to be 5 3/8. Let's see if my trimming is correct. Should layer right on top, just like that. I'm actually going to just cut something out of the center here, just to save some paper for something for later. This one I'm going to score at 4 1/4. And then cut at 5 1/2. So I have my 2 bases for both my cards. And I'm going to do that one thing again. I'm just going to show you how I did it one more time, just so you can see. So I have my purple tape here still. So let's see, so I want to have, it has to be smaller than this, whatever it is that we're using. So we could go with that. That fits in there. That fits. I'm going to do 4 just for the heck of it. Okay, so these are going to be the next 4 sizes down. So I'm kind of just making sure that they are evenly spaced. It doesn't have to be exact, but for the most part. Oh, it's easier than it looks. I promise you, it really is. You just have to get your spacing right and your fingers to cooperate. All right, then I'm going to put this purple tape just to hold them in. So I'm really taping them more so than anything to make sure they look like they're pretty much evenly spaced. That one came free. And then I'm going to set this here, and I just want to make sure that I have equal border around all the sides. Okay. And then, so this is just basically to save paper. That's the only reason I'm doing this. And I'll show you what I mean. And then we can use one of these pieces even on the inside. Okay, so then this comes out. And right now, all we're going to use is that one. But we have these 3 extra pieces that we could use for something else, okay? So let's put these together. So this is going to go here. This one's going to go onto this. And then onto a base. And then we'll put something on the inside. I like to, use my silicone mat when I'm putting this down, just so I make sure I don't kind of goof anything up on the outside. So I'm gonna just put a very thin border of ink, and I'm not ink, of liquid glue, because I find that you can adjust it a little bit if you goof it up. Okay, so there's that. Flip this over. It's a super duper skinny border. You could always trim it up if you wanted to, but I think it kind of looks nice. And again, we've only used a little piece because we're going to just lay this right on top of our black border. You could add a greeting to the front if you wanted to, but I will tell you, the more I do these where they have kind of this intensive blending, I kind of have a hard time adding a greeting to the front because I feel like I don't want to cover up the work that I did, so I may just put a greeting on the inside. So put this here, make sure it's not upside down. Oh, got black on my finger. Okay, so this definitely you want to let it set so it dries so you don't goof anything up with accidentally smudging it. So I'm going to leave this here. What I could do when I'm done, and I'm not going to do it now again because I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up a little bit, is you could take one of these. Oh, did they not cut? They didn't cut all the way. These did not cut all the way on the edge, but luckily since I left this lined up, all I would have to do is just kind of line these back up where they were, and you have to figure out which side is which. There you go. And then I'll run it through one more time, but you can see right here, they didn't run through exactly. If you ever have this problem with your dies and they're not cutting 100% the first time, the other thing you can do is run them upside down because it actually will cut a little bit better that way. So I'm just going to put these through so you can see what I mean. And sometimes when you cut facing up, they will cut a little bit better that direction. So it'll come out, oops, the first way. So what we could do is we could layer this around. It's just a little teeny piece here didn't go through. Well, this side did. This side's being a stinker. Okay, I don't want to torture you with that. But what we could do is we could stamp our greeting on the inside. So we could put in a white panel and then stamp the greeting inside and then put a frame around just to kind of like frame the image. I think would look kind of pretty. And then we will do this one. So same thing, we just used a layer of this. We could cut something out here because we are layering on top of it, but we'll skip that for now because you know the point of what I'm getting at with saving your paper. Flip this over. Now this one, since it is a smaller image, I think I would probably put a greeting on the front because it's not taking up the whole card. So you kind of feel like you can add a greeting to this one and it's not going to be, you know, like overwhelming or out of place. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. And I hope all of my behind the scenes painstaking annoyingly doing this has helped you at least a little bit. So there are two different ways you could do this. You could do it with black or sparkle black embossing powder, or you could do it with ink and fill it in with your marker. Again, I do think this looks cooler because it has really a nice sparkle to it. This one, when it's finished and fully dry, I probably will spritz with, what do I usually do? Here's what I usually do. I will put some of that shimmer paint in with alcohol and a color, or you could just leave it clear, and I'll spray it so it'll have a nice sparkle to it. You could also omit that step by using shimmery white cardstock instead. So a couple different options for you there. And then this one, same thing. What I will do is eventually I probably will add a sentiment to this because I think it looks kind of more like a picture or a window, I should say. And then I will add a white panel to the inside and add one of these frames that I did around it. You could even do this one that you cut out. You could even put this on the inside. So put your white panel in just like that. And put your frame around it just like that. Then you would have and then you could add your greeting. You could use this for a totally separate front of a card, like a happy birthday card. You could do something in black would be really pretty because it would have a nice contrast. So you could definitely use that other outside layer. But the other one where I was trying to show you, here it is over here, is if you were going to use one of these layers. So if you were to put, oops, I'm trying not to touch it too much because I have a feeling if I do, somehow I'm going to end up smudging it. But you could put your white panel on the inside here. And obviously you wouldn't use all three of these, but you could pick one of your frames. Although you could use all three. It does look kind of cute. You could put one of your frames and then stamp your greeting on the inside there. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of options of what you could do with it. But again, I'm not going to post all of this stuff, the blogs and everything I won't post that until I get back from school. So it will be just a little bit for that. But I think it looks really nice considering all the misery I put myself through. I am, and that's just me being crazy, but I am really looking forward to doing a different one. So I'm going to do one with, where did I put those other ones? I feel like I definitely want to do one with the snowman stamp because I think that will look really cool to maybe do like a winter sky and fill him in black. I think the pagoda and the tree would look beautiful with like a really orange, red, yellow, vivid background. Those would look really nice. And I think the other one that I really, really want to try is to do the heron or the sailboats with a water background. or more so even just the horses, like the horse running. I think they will be really, really pretty. So those will be just some other good ideas in case you don't have them. But I hope that this has given you guys some inspiration on something to try, maybe something new that you haven't done before, something new to try to give yourself something to do. I'm just kidding. Hopefully I've ironed out all the kinks that'll make it a little bit easier for you to figure out what that you want to do with it. But thank you so much, all of you, for stopping by today. I really appreciated seeing all of your words and comments, and I'm going to say seeing all of your smiling faces, because all the things that you guys say do make me smile. So thank you so much for joining me once again. I probably will be on Facebook. I'm not sure if it'll be tomorrow or Friday. I'm sorry, on YouTube tomorrow or Friday, but I will do something on one of the two because I have something else coming in, another order coming in. So I'm going to try and do something. Hopefully my stars will come in, and then I can work on a really cute card with the morning star stamp, because I've been dying to use that one. So thank you guys very much for stopping in. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have anything you need to buy, I would certainly appreciate your support in my online store, which is rachthestamper.stampinup.net. If you have any questions or comments, you can always leave a comment here. You can shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'll see you all again real soon. Have a wonderful day.